Chavre, how are you? I hope everyone is gesund, stark, und freilich, begashmus v'ruchnis. I hope everyone is healthy, strong, and happy, physically and spiritually. Today is Erev Shabbos Kodesh, Parshas Re'eh, and it's also Shabbos Mevarchim Chodesh Elul. Everyone knows the famous talk of the previous Rebbe, who said that in Lubavitch, in the small town of Lubavitch, from Shabbos Mevarchim Elul, hat sich schon geblost the Tshuva wind in Lubavitch. We felt the winds of Tshuva already from Shabbos Mevarchim Elul. Even though we say that Tshuva starts really from Rosh Chodesh Elul, as we know, Ani l'doidi v'doidi li sofatevis, there's 4 yuds, and the 40 days of Rosh Chodesh Elul till Yom HaKippurim are 40 days of Tshuva. And we say from Rosh Chodesh Elul, Niftechu Sharei Shemayim, the gates of heaven are open, people start saying Slichas, some people have the custom, the Sradim, etc. So here, the previous Rebbe was saying that in Lubavitch, from Shabbos Mevarchim, from this Shabbos, we already felt the winds of Tshuva. The winds of, it's time to make a change. We'll start with charity, which is going to be the focus of today's lesson. Since the war started, we started giving charity. Also, in the schus of the great mitzvah of tzedakah, Mashiach should come now. We'll say a pasuk. We're going to start Mirz Hashem on Rosh Chodesh Elul. We start saying a kapitel of Tehillim every single day, kapitel Chav Zayin. And I don't know what's wrong with me today. You'll have to excuse me. So the kapitel is kapitel Chav Zayin. Today I'm going to say an interpretation of a pasuk, my own humble interpretation, but I hope it's correct because it's meant to bring out something good. And that is, it's a very famous pasuk in kapitel Chav Zayin, which goes like this: Lecha amalibi bakshu fonoi esponecha adino yavakesh, which the literal meaning of the pasuk means, in your behalf, my heart says. That means lecha, in your behalf, my heart says, seek my countenance. Your countenance, Lord, I seek. So maybe we could say, and especially, that one of the Rosh Tevis of the word Elul, which is the word Elul contains all the major avenues, paths, mitzvahs of serving Hashem. One of the Rosh Tevis of Elul shows on the Avodah Tzedakah, Ish l're'eyu, a man to his friend, umatonis le'vyonim, giving gifts to the poor. So that's how we see the Avodah of Tzedakah in Elul. So on this spirit we could say, L'cha, to you another Jew, Omar Libi. My heart is always drawn to other Yidden, thinking about them, their well-being. What can I do for someone else today? My life is about L'cha. I worry and think about other people. That's what type of heart I have. And that's what means a good heart. A heart which is always considering and thinking of others. L'cha malibi. Bakshu fonai. L'cha goes in the other Jew, and the other Jew says, see my pnimius. If you look at every Yid and you see his pnimius, his inside, that every Jew inside has a nefesh halikis, a godly soul, a pintel Yid. And then the pasuk says, Esponecha Hashem havakesh. If you'll see the pnimius of the Jew, you'll see the pnimius of Hashem. That in every single Yid, there is a Jew, a spark of God. Every Yid has a chelik elikam mimal mamish. And we know the famous Taisha of the Alter Rebbe. If Likutei Torah this week, Parshas Re'eh, he says, Re'eh, you should observe. Anoichi, Re'eh anoichi noisen lefnechem. That the lefnechem, lepnimiyuschem, the inner dimension, and inner level of every single Jew is the Anoichi. The Eibishter put himself Re'ei anochi noisen, I gave my essence, lifnechem, to your pnimius. Every single Jew inside has an essence of God in him. And that's what the pasuk over here, you could say, maybe is saying, L'cha amar libi, my heart is to another. Bakshufan, I see the pnimius of the Yid, which is the anochi of Hashem. And then you'll see as panecha, Hashem avakesh. That's how you'll find Hashem. You'll find His pnimius, His anochi in every single Jew. Okay. So the mitzvah we're going to talk about today, which is in this week's Pasha, Pasha's Re'eh, is the mitzvah of tzedakah. There's a couple of psukim that talk about tzedakah, and there's so much to learn about, so much to study, and it's so fascinating. It's so fascinating because this is a subject that I end up speaking about all the time with my students and with acquaintances and family. In the non-Jewish world, in the secular world, there's no concept of ethics and morality as legislation. What does it mean? The law, excuse me. The law is about acts, not about how you think. You could think the other guy is terrible. You could think totally negatively about another person. There's no law in any law book that says you're not allowed to think bad about another person. And the same thing is how you feel towards him. There's no law that says I cannot hate someone else. You can't hurt the person. You can't do violence, but you can hate the other person. In Judaism, the same prohibition it is to do physical damage to another person, the same sense of prohibition is about hatred in your heart towards another person, or jealousy, or bearing a grudge, and so on and so forth. So this is so on and so on. This is such a huge subject, and it's such a stark contrast. It's unparalleled to think about the secular idea of social life and relationships, and then think about the idea of Judaism of community and the obligations and the legislation concerning these things. So one of these things is charity. We spoke about this already 2 years ago in Parshas Re'eh. See there some of the things that I've touched upon today, I touched upon then. So therefore, I hope today the focus is going to be on different things. So therefore, when we talk about charity, the first thing is, as we spoke many times, tzedakah doesn't mean you're charitable. Tzedakah comes from the word tzedek, you're doing the right thing. And the reason is because it's not yours to start with. Ten le mishaloi. The Eibishter gave it to you. You are just a trustee. It's a test to see how are you going to act, how are you going to feel because of the fact that you have money. Do you see it as something that makes you better than the other person? That you're the giver and you're the benefactor? Or on the contrary, does it cause you to be humbled and to look at another person and say, there by the grace of God, go I could be in the same exact situation because my success is not attributed to me. It's all in Hashem's hands. And the only reason I have it is because Hashem entrusted me with a duty, etc. So the whole thing is a paradigm shift. And when it's based on the right fundamentals, then you will act properly. So one of the contrasts is about the act of charity, giving charity. One of the contrasts I mean to say is when we discuss in Judaism, there's two aspects to charity. There's the aspect of charity of the act, which you could say is the most important thing. Talk is cheap. Act is important. But there's also how you give the charity. How you make the other person feel. Do you make them feel like $1 million? Do you pick them up, etc.? And this is what we're going to talk about today. So first I'll start, it's a Sikha from the Rebbe, a germ of a Sikha from the Rebbe, in volume 34, Parshas Re'eh. There's two Sikhas. The second Sikha there talks about that even though the Rambam says you should start being laharbis b'tzedakah on the Aseret Shemei Tshuva, you should start giving much more extra tzedakah from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur. The Rebbe learns from this a chiddush that it really starts from Reish Chodesh Elul. That's the second Sikha in Chelik Lamed Dalid. The first Sikha in Chelik Lamed Dalid is a Rashi Sikha, and he asks the following question. So I'm going to start with that, and then we'll go into the Psukim in detail. The Rebbe asked a question as follows. In one pasuk, when it speaks about giving charity, it says, Ki pasech tiftach es yotcha, open up your hands, v'havei tabitenu dai machseirei. You should grant them enough. Asher yechzalei, you should grant him enough for his lack, which is lacking for him. That's in Pasuk Ches in chapter 15. Two psukim later, the Pasuk says, Nosein titen loi, you shall give him, you shall give him. Yeah, now, Rashi, on the Pasuk of Pasech Tiftach, Rashi says that Afilu kama pomim. Why does it say a double Lashon Pasech Tiftach? Like giving double means even you have to give many times. Okay. And the pasuk says, "Ki pasech tiftach es yotcha loi." Now, when we look at pasuk Yud, which is similar, it says nosin titen loi, and Rashi learns out from this two things. Number one, he says afilu mei pomim, not kama pomim, not giving it many times, but even 100 times. And then he says nosan loi, you should give it to him. And Rashi and these would say beinoi lebeincha, between him and you, which means you give it to him privately, not to cause him embarrassment. So over here, the Rebbe asks two questions basically. Number one, what's the difference in Pasech Tiftach and Nosin Titin? It seems very similar. And why over there, the first time Rashi on Pasech Tiftach just says, I feel a kam upon him many times, but by Nosin Titin he says, may upon him 100 times. And also, why do we learn out this thing? Nosin Titin Loi. By Nosin Titin Loi, Rashi learns out giving him means giving him alone. No one else should know about it. It should be privately. Only he knows you gave him. And previously, when the pasuk says Pasech Tiftach es yotcha loi, in that pasuk, Rashi doesn't learn out from the loi that it should be privately. Why? So the Rebbe gives a simple answer. According to my understanding, see over there at length, that this is referring to the two aspects of tzedakah. One is talking about the general approach. We're talking about a general approach. And the general approach means that it's coming from a good heart. It's coming from a warm place. It's coming out of positivity. That's what the pasuk means, Pasech Tiftach, an open heart, open heart. And it's talking about sympathy. So therefore, it answers both questions. It doesn't say may upon him, because we're not talking about a technical thing, even if it means you have to give the same person 100 times. It's talking about a general approach. It's a general approach. I feel a calm upon him. You should keep this in mind from time to time. Because sometimes, it could wear off the feeling. Today you're feeling inspired, another day you're not feeling inspired. Sometimes it's really a big tircha. It's late at night, someone knocks on your door. You've had a hot, tiring day. Oh, another person, whatever it is. So therefore, it's a general statement. Pasech Tiftach. Be open-hearted. Open heart, warmth, positivity to the other person, full of sympathy. I feel a calm upon him, even if it's a long, it doesn't mean calm upon like for today's day as in a day. Calm upon means during your lifetime, during the year. From time to time, you have to remember this thing. But Nosen Titain, the Rebbe says, is talking about actually giving. And therefore, Rashi learns over there, I feel a may upon him literally. In other words, if today is a Monday and 100 people come, and it could even be the same person, whatever the story is, I feel a may upon him, you have to give. There's no such a thing as stopping. Nosen Titain, I feel a may upon him, literally. We're talking about the act of giving. The word Nosen Titain, which means give, is talking about literally giving. Pasech Tiftach is talking about open heart. Be open, warm, embracing to the other person. And therefore, obviously, the second thing that Rashi says, Nosen Titan Loi, privately, because again, that thing is only possible. Shaykh. When we're talking about the physical giving, we say when you're giving something to a person, do it to him privately. But if we're talking about the idea of the approach and the attitude towards another person, that has nothing to do with the privately or not. So therefore Rashi doesn't bring it down over here. So now let's go look inside. Just because this is so fundamental, the mitzvah tzedakah is so great. The Alter Rebbe elaborates in chapter 37 of Tanya why it's the most important mitzvah. And it's the most important mitzvah for many reasons. The Alter Rebbe's explanation in chapter 37 is talking about the idea of the service of God. In other words, not because of the idea of Avos Yisrael and helping another Jew and how the other is more important, but it's about the idea of the sacrifice and transformation and giving of yourself to Hashem. And money represents the greatest sacrifice and the greatest concept of transforming physical matter or physical energy to godliness, transcendence and transformation. That's why tzedakah is the greatest mitzvah. See chapter 37 at length. But let's look over here just to see how in the verses itself, this concept that it's not only about the giving, but about the feeling, service with a smile, and what it means to have a good heart, and why the Yiddishkeit is so awesome that it stresses the legislation. It's part of the Jewish law, not only about how much you have to give, but how you have to give. This idea itself, when you think about it, how it's legislation and it's law, should be so inspiring, but yet also very obligating. How we have to look at ourselves and ask ourselves, are we doing the right thing when it comes to charity? So first of all, let's go back to the Psukim, where it says in the beginning over here, when it talks about it, we learn out the mitzvah tzedakah from these Psukim, by the way, and it starts off, Ki b'cho evyin me'achad achecha. So there we go straight away. I'm just bringing you stuff that the commentaries say. That right away the Torah emphasizes achecha. You have to look at him as a brother. When it comes from a feeling that he's your brother, it's already a whole other feeling. He's not the schnorrer, he's not the loser. He's your brother. So therefore the whole feeling is different. It starts from that place in your heart, how you feel for a brother, family, mamish. And then, interestingly enough, and the Rebbe makes a very big stress on this, the Torah actually first starts with you shall not harden your heart. Nor shall you close your hand against your destitute brother. So it's two things. Number one, do not harden your heart. And number two, you should not close your hand against your destitute brother. Even though simple pshat is don't feel indifferent, but help him. But we're saying it's deeper than that. This is a command, also referring on an emotional level. Do not let your heart be cold about it. Your heart has to be involved in it. And obviously, once your heart is involved in it, you feel for the other person, you sympathize, you identify, then of course the giving is going to be different. So we see from the beginning of the mitzvah tzedakah, where we learn out the mitzvah tzedakah from the next pasuk, Posech Tiftach Es Yodcha. But where does it start from? It starts from Leisam Leitzes Levavcha. Do not harden your heart, because that could be even more important than the giving. Is how you reflect. How does the other person sense when you're dealing with him? And also over here, from the Rashis over here, I mean, I don't want to get into all the Rashis here, but there's other Rashis here where we see how by Yiddishkeit the whole idea is like totally different. Okay, but you can look at it yourself. Now I want to bring out where we see it in legislation. Number one, just you have to let this hit home. The Rambam in Hilchos Matnas, I had it written down there, I lost it already. The Rambam says in Hilchos Matnas Aniyim Perik Yud, Halacha Daled Vehei. See there, the Rambam writes the following halacha. Kol hanoisen stokel la'ani b'sever ponim yofos. Sorry. Kol anis nistaka la ani b'seva ponim rois uponim kvushes bekarker. If someone gets stuck but he doesn't show him a smiley face, he shows him a bitter face. And like your face is buried in the ground, like you're not showing him attention. You're not showing him care. You don't give him a sense of affirmation and validation and worthiness. Listen to the Rambam. The Rambam speaks clear words like nobody else. Afilu nosan loy elev zuhuvim. Even if he gave him 1,000 gold coins, ibed zchusei v'ifsida. You lost your merit. How are you meant to give? Noisan loy b'sever ponim yofos ubesimcha. You give it to him with a smiley face. And you have to sympathize with him and show him how bad you feel. Like you feel his pain. I forgot that I had the Rambam over here on the side. And the Rambam continues, have I not been the person that wept for the other person's hard day? Didn't I feel sorrow for the one who was destitute? You speak to him words of comfort and consolation. Look what the Rambam is saying here. He tells you clearly how you're meant to deal with someone who comes knock on your door and bechlal, someone who's needy. I brought joy to the heart of a widow. That's an halacha daled. And the Rambam continues. I don't want to take up time, it's getting late. See halacha hey, where he says if someone comes to you and you don't even have any money at all, payasoi bidvarim. Make him feel good, speak gently. Speak words that will bring him comfort. Also legal barney. It's so opposite of what you see common. The approach by people who are not following what the Rambam says here. And the Rambam is making it so clear. So that's a halakha. The whole point that we started today was talking about Jewish law. Legislation, my friend. You're nothing special. This is what's your obligation. To be a man full of sympathy and empathy. And then we have a Gemara. This is a famous Gemara in Bava Basra. Omer Rabbi Yitzchak kol ha-nesen prutalani. Whenever, if you give a coin to a poor person, mizbarich b'shesh brachos, you get 6 blessings. V'amafaisei b'dvarim. But if you make him feel good with words, mizbarich b'achas esrei brachos, then you get 11 blessings. And according to Chassidus and Kabbalah, you could say 11 represents bli gvul, mamish infinite. The famous level of antu chod v'lo b'chushbin. The one which is not counted means the above 10. 10 represents the natural scheme, the natural order of things, the completion. 11 is outside of Seder Shtalshalos. So it means that the one who doesn't only give, but gives with a smile and makes the other person feel good, gets blessed with 11 blessings. 11 represents the idea of bli gvul. So, we said that Elul is the idea, one of the Rosh Tevis of Elul is Ani l'doidi v'doidi li, which is referring to Hashem, but it's also Ish l're'eyu matanas l'vyoinim. And this I think I said once before. You can learn Pshat, that, and this was the Rosh Tevis that stands with tzedakah, but you can also say Ish l're'eyu. That means right away when you look at this Ish, you see he is a man l're'eyu, to others, for his friends, achecha. And therefore he's a person who matonos l'vyoinim. He just doesn't give the other person the basics. He just doesn't give the other person the bare necessities. He gives matonos. Matonos sounds like something which is gifts. It has a special preciousness. It's a bonus. It's first class, etc. Now I just want to finish with a story. I don't know if I ever said this story, it's an amazing story. Brought down a Sefer HaSichos of the previous Rebbe, Tafshan Aleph, page 39. It's an amazing story because it brings out a certain defining a characteristic, a personality when it comes to charity. The story is a story, someone came to the Baal Shem Tov and it was someone who was very destitute and poor and needed help. and he was very broken, and he had a lot of tzaras. See page 39 of Sefer Hasichos Tafshin Aleph. And he came to the Baal Shem Tov and he asked him to be helped with prayer. Anyways, the Baal Shem Tov was very big in Ahavas Yisrael. The bottom line is also, this is very interesting. For another reason, the Baal Shem Tov took out a sefer from his bookcase, and he opened up to Gemara Bava Basra, and the Gemara was the Gemara that said, Kol hanoitel pruta mi Iyov mizbarich. Whoever takes a coin from Iyov was a tzaddik, and whoever got a coin from Iyov would be blessed. That means the point of that Gemara is that even if it's just a pruta, when you get a pruta, even if it's a small amount, but it's from a holy person, that coin will bring you blessings. That's the Gemara that he opened up to. So the Baal Shem Tov took this as a sign, and then, what is the sign that he was receiving from heaven? And then he thought to himself as follows, and this is where I want to read you what he says. Now it's on page 40 of Sefer Hasichos Tafshin Aleph. In der Stadt Brody is given a Eid Reb Shapsi Meir. This came to the Baal Shem Tov in his mind, that in the city of Brody there was a Jew, his name was Reb Shapsi Meir. A Eid was gekonnte lernen und geben grace tzedakah. A Yid who used to know how to learn, he was a Talmud Chacham, and he gave much charity. Alle seine bakoshes by Hashem Yisbarach seinen gewesen. All of his prayers to Hashem were, as Hashem Yisbarach soll geben Matzloch, Hashem should give him success in tzedakah, in charity. Soll geben mit a good heart, he should give with a good heart, und seine tzedakahs, was gibt, soll Matzloch sein. And the tzedakahs that he gives should bring success. In other words, the charities bring success. That's also a blessing. From every dollar you invest, you get good return. It helps. It brings the person Yeshuas. Adivas nemen das sollen geholfen werden. That those that get the charity from him should be helped. Hashem Yisbarach and Reb Shapsi Meir gegeben Grace Hashiris. So his prayer was, he should be what's called a mutzlach in tzedakah, as we said before. And what does it mean to be a mutzlach in tzedakah? 2 points. That the other person should be helped, and that I should give with a leiv tov. So, Hashem blessed him with much ashiris, but Reb Shapsi Meir hat nicht geendet sein Haus. He became wealthy, but he still lived simply. He didn't build a mansion or make renovations. Und nicht zu viel geputzt, he didn't make it fancy. And gelebt wie free, he lived like before. Then there's noch given a gewöhnliche balabayas. Even when he just had like an average income, he was just an average person, average financial status. Non tzedakah. But when it came to charity, was a grace tells given matan beseiser, which by and large the majority was done privately, quietly. As Cain's only visions, and no one should know about it. It was given zeinik, but his charity and his level of charity became completely unparalleled as soon as he had good fortune. Von Zeit zu Zeit seine gewähnt Tzedakahs Ausgaben geworden, mehr and mehr, he would increase in his tzedakah expenses more and more, und hat gehalten an einem Betten bei Hashem Yisbarach, and he kept on asking by the Eibishter, as soll im Zake sein mit Hatzlocha in tzedakah. That was the request. He should have the merit of having success in tzedakah. And it says that the Bezdin Shal Mailot Gepaskint, the heavenly court made the verdict as a Shapsi Meir is vert, he's worthy, as Hashem is Baruch Mamala Zayin Di Bakosha, Hashem should fulfill this request. So have Matzlocha in tzedakah. He should be successful with his tzedakah. So Hashem Tov reminded himself that time when he pulled out the Gemara about Kol HaNeitel Pruta Mi Mizbarach, he remembered this Reb Shapsi Meir. So he saw that as a sign that Hashem was sending him a message that he should take this Gemara, and that's why it happened by Hashgacha Pratis that the baby that the Baal Shem Tov should think about Reb Shapsi Meir, and this Reb Shapsi Meir will help this Yid. And that's what the Baal Shem Tov told this Jew. He should go to Brody. He'll find this Jew called Shapsi Meir. Reb Shapsi Meir is a big Machnes Oirech. He always has guests. He'll invite you for Shabbos. and after Shabbos you'll speak to him, thank him for the Achmasas Orchim, and ask him for a blessing that you should be helped through his tzedakos. He did that. He stayed in Shabbos Meir's house. Shabbos Meir treated his guests in the best and shenste biyad rechava, in the best way. Sunday he met with the Shabbos Meir. He asked him for a bracha, everything like the Baal Shem Tov told him. Reb Shabbos Meir hat him herzig gebencht. Reb Shabbos Meir blessed him with all his heart. Und Hashem Yisbarach hat die Bracha angenommen. Hashem accepted his blessing when the Eid is geholfen geworden and the Jew is helped. That's how the Frierdiker Rebbe finishes the Sikh here. So, my friends, this is what I'm talking to myself. You know, we always have to start with the aspiration. You know, you can tell a Jew by what he's asking for, what he desires. Similar to what we start with the Kapitel Chav Zayin now. Acha shoalti meis Hashem, shifti beveis Hashem kol yimei chayai. But we see from this Sikha, the Frierdiker Rebbe, what are we meant to be asking for? To zayin a mutzlech b'tzedakah. And what does it mean to be a mutzlech b'tzedakah? Geb mit a leiv toiv. When as yen is geholfen werden. And he always kept with this request. Hashem, bless me, that I should always give with a good heart. Good heart, like we spoke about today, means full of sympathy, full of empathy, that you enjoy helping another person, as the Rebbe and the Frierdiker Rebbe bring down in many places. Hama geschmack in Torah Teva Yidden. You should enjoy it like you enjoy a cold drink of soda or chicken soup or whatever you enjoy. You enjoy if you made $50,000 today, whatever it is. Hama geschmack in Torah Teva Yidden. Enjoy doing a favor to another. When someone tells you about something, thank you. You should say it was my pleasure, and that person should feel that was your pleasure, etc., etc. So you hear us in the Rebbe shall helfen. I'm speaking on behalf of everyone. Am soll alle sein mutzlich b'tzedakah. We should all be mutzlich b'tzedakah. Give mit a leiv tov, to give with a good heart. And we see that from Judaism and legislation in a certain sense. In a certain sense, it's even more important than the amount. It's how you give it. As we brought from the Gemara and we brought from the Rambam. So it's clearly two proofs. So we should be a mutzlich and tzedakah, get mit a leiv shalom, and have the merit that our tzedakahs should help the other person. And the Rebbe shall helfen that in the schus of all the tzedakah that we do, the Rebbe should do, bring the ultimate union of tzedakah. The Rebbe should be, have rachmanas final in the situation of the Yidden and Golus, and bring the Gula Mitzvah Shleima, take it from Yad Mamish. Posting from my home, Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, your man in Melbourne.